この美しい風景もそばに誰もいない以上、私の普遍を引き立たせるだけ。
参ったな。新人冒険者はいつも同じ過ちを繰り返す。参ったな。新人冒険者はいつも同じ過ちを繰り返す。
つれづれなるままにひくらし、すずりに向かして。
この塗料、以前のよりもいい仕上がりになりそうだ。
参ったな。新人冒険者はいつも同じ過ちを繰り返す。
創作料理を試食してみて。
浮世の風景は幾千年も変わらないというのに、人の世とはこうも白露と泡のように儚い。この美しい風景もそばに誰もいない以上、私の普遍を引き立たせるだけ。
この塗料、以前のよりもいい仕上がりになりそうだ。
創作料理を試食してみて。
参ったな。新人冒険者はいつも同じ過ちを繰り返す。
この塗料、以前のよりもいい仕上がりになりそうだ。
創作料理を試食してみて。
参ったな。新人冒険者はいつも同じ過ちを繰り返す。
この塗料、以前のよりもいい仕上がりになりそうだ。
創作料理を試食してみて。
参ったな。新人冒険者はいつも同じ過ちを繰り返す。
創作料理を試食してみて。
浮世の風景は幾千年も変わらないというのに、人の世とはこうも白露と泡のように儚い。
創作料理を試食してみて。
美しい風景。
剣女盤石。
震えてるじゃない。極寒のせい？それとも恐怖？
難攻不落。
肝炎に落ちなさい。
いざ剣女盤石。はっふっ。岩山八九。天道万象。
相関化粧。
難攻不落。
風の神よ、我らを導きたぶ。救済はいらない。いらないの。
せっかくのチャンスだ。本気を出して俺を楽しませてくれ。投稿も一つの選択だよ。俺は敗者に優しいからね。少しは成長したよ。褒めてあげよう。
岩山八九。
道は。
いやファッションは私が定義する。
はっはっやっふんはっせーっとやっ裁きの雷。
手伝ってかかれ。
しったやっふんぐたはっせーっ逃げ道はありません。
騎士の風格に気をつけます。これで
裁きの雷。
痛がっちゃいない。はっ星とし無事今日の依頼を。星としこの同点。 についてのご質問。マーガレットのやつ話し中みたいだな。待てよ、あれロサリアじゃないか。隣にいるのは。
分かったわ、バレリナ。ビクトリアに言われた通り、引き続き。
Oh, poor Rosaria. And her boot nerf.
猫の様子をチェックしたり、お風呂に入れたりするぐらい。なんてことないわ。でも、肝心な問題はまだ解決してませんよ、ロサリアさん。そのせいで猫ちゃんが病気にでもなったら、猫のこの城は開業。焦ったってしょうがないじゃない。仲良くなれないのは却下。
やあロサリア、それからそっちは初めまして。何か悩み事でも。猫救世主様。うわ、いきなり救世主様だなんてびっくりしたぞ。
かいつまんでお話ししますね。私はバレリナと申します。行き場のない子たちを保護すれば、みんなを不幸な運命から救う。そこで教会のシスターたちに相談し。別に優しいからじゃなくて、ビクトリアに頼まれたからよ。医学をかじったことがある。
なかなかやり手の。それでお前たちが。
モラなら十分あります。それに敷地や関連なのですが、そのどんな姿勢で近づいても威嚇されちゃっ。私も猫たちに怖がられてるみたい。私が近づくと。
生まれつき猫にでも猫の保護活動をしようとしてるのに猫と仲良くなれなかったら、保護施設の運営どころかキャッツテールに来るのでさえハードルが高いんじゃないのか。
それでその方面の専門家に相談しに来たんですが、マーガレットさんもこれといったコツは思いつかないでもこうも言ってくださいました。困った時は栄養騎士と白い助手さんに頼めばなんとか。まさかそんなところへちょうど。
バルバトスに猫の世話についての知識があるかどうかはさておき、おいらたちも保護施設の運営経験なんてないぞ。急に救世主だなんて言われても。
Hello. How's it going?
にそうだな。猫と仲良くするってことならオイラ自信があるぜ。 そう考えるとお前らの悩み。
私は別にいいから、とにかくそんなに暇そうなし。
おい、教会の仕事を。
では早速猫モコの。
城って名前なのに。
これでも町にある空き家の中では一番大きな物件なんですよ。家賃もさほど高く、計画では健康状態のいい猫ちゃんについては引き取り許可書を発行する予定なんです。もし責任を持って世話をするなので、今の敷地でも十分賄えると思います。今後事業が拡大すれば野良犬や他の困って。君の計画がうまくいって、
I mean, you don't really need to do fur unless you're thinking about getting like snakes and reptiles or something with, or animals without fur.
見ろ。
はあ、あの白猫はすごい人見知りなんです。
真っ白でふわふわで雪で作ったお餅みたいだよな。ひひ、お前がつけた名前も。よー、雪大福。よしよし、いい子だな。
まだ出会って1分も経ってないのに、もう猫。
広い猫でも可愛い名前をつけてやって、優しく声を。ただしまずは自分の、例えばバレリナがおどおどしながら近づいたら猫だって不安になっちゃうだろ。
拾われた子にも優しく呼びかければ。モンドのこういう雰囲気は確かに悪くないわね。雪大福がロサリアさんに寄ってきました。
今ロサリアのやつ笑った。
別にどうでもいいわ。それより部屋がちょっと蒸し暑くなっ。
あれ、
栄養騎士さん、猫猫白もこれからもっと多くの
任せろ。次はより上級の焦らずに少しずつ猫と触れ合って知り合っていけば。
よくわかりました。
Yeah, I think this is the exact same as what the cafe is. Cat's Play or Cat's Paw or whatever the hell it's called. I think this is the same basic layout. I think they just changed the desk. This area. I think this is the only thing. I think this is the main thing that's different. I mean, obviously, I guess they did. I guess it's the same floor plan, but they did change a few actual items itself.
助けが必要な方がいるはずです。はっやっこれで間に合いまやっ 助けが必要な方がいるはずです。これで間に合いますね。助けが必要な方がいるはずです。お披露目だ。
凡人、身の程をわきまえよ。
やめてくれ。僕を称えよう。光り輝くがいい。せいはっよっせい
三弱の修正。
それはそら
今こそ全ての怨嗟を払う時なり。
権威のよ
お披露目だ。歌え僕のもとによっほっせいはっふんはっそっせい何をするんだい。開幕だ。
貴様らの墓場となる。
世界の熱狂の渦にそれそっはっふん燃えろはっくらえ
みんながそばにいてくれるわ。傷なんて痛まない。
ほれ光り輝くがいい。
よっよっだもみちは血山くんの死や
俺が守れ。くらえ
我は消
Oh, cool, Philip. Nice. Okay, well, I'm going to go ahead and call it a day. I did my weeklies. I did a few more weekly bosses. I'm almost like, even though I have a ton of materials, the fact that they get billets are kind of cool. I guess eventually at some point I will have every single crafted ARC-5 weapon. I think there are a few I don't have, but I'm trying to keep like a stockpile of 5 and 5. But like one time when like my bows got to like 10 or something super high, I was just like, oh, whatever, I'll just craft one of the bows that I have not made, because most of them are kind of crap. But these give you a chance at it. So now I just have the Storm Terror and then Andreas, because Andreas is not included in this list. So just those two for the week, and then and obviously the dailies, and then the cat thing, which is pretty I enjoyed it. It's incredibly simple, right? Like obviously it's not really a super lengthy event or anything like that. Just go in, bring some furniture, pet some cats. Still nice, still cute. I really hope it becomes permanent. Like, I hope it's like the cattail where it just stays, because like the assets are pretty minimal, right? Like it's an instanced area, so you don't have to load it every single time Mondstadt comes into existence. So it's instance, which makes it more likely for them to keep it. And then the inside is not like crazy, right? It's not like the Golden Apple Archipelago, because it's like, oh yeah, that's also instance. It's like, yeah, it's instance, but it's also humongous, which means it takes a shitload of time to design. It takes a shitload of time to it takes a shitload of time to design, obviously, because it's huge and they have a lot of assets that it need to place. But also, it's just like loading it takes time. So like you have to be able to store the assets somewhere, so that when people come in, you have to load them. And sure, you can put them on the customer's client, which is typically where they go anyway. That's why like the game itself is so ridiculously big on phone and PC, is because your phone and PC are actually storing the compressed assets for everything in the game. Which is, that's the bane of games that get this big, especially for mobile, because mobile obviously have smaller drives. But yeah, that's the tough thing about games like that. Because yeah, it'll just if you get too big, you need to store that shit somewhere. And it's much, 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 much better to put it on the client than having these assets on the server. Because essentially what you would then require would be like, oh, okay, we have these, oh, you want to load into Sumeru? Okay, well, that's 1 gigabyte of compressed assets. Sure, like loading 1 gigabyte of compressed assets from your system takes like no time, especially if you have an SSD. But transferring 1 gigabyte of data over an internet connection obviously will vary. And then 2, you have to then uncompress it. So it's the time it takes to transfer all the data, the time it takes to uncompress, and then load. So that obviously has delays. Maybe in the future, when internet connections are ridiculously fast, when we're getting, 1 gigabit per second everywhere as like the baseline. Like, oh, you want to pay you want to pay your minimum internet cost, and your minimum throughput is like, if like a company sells their minimum throughput at cheap and also gigabit, and then you can go up to like 1, 5, 10 gigabits per second. Sure, okay, maybe at that point, yeah, then you can have servers to start to host their own assets. Maybe not for like the general world, but like maybe for all instance areas like your teapot, maybe your teapot you want to still on the client because it's unique to you. And no point clogging the server up with that. But like maybe the Golden Archipelago, maybe the Enconomia, those instance areas that only exist when you go into them. Oh, and the Chasm too. These 2 areas could then be stored on the server, saving space for the client, for other actual continents, stuff like that. So, but that is, you obviously have to have a huge internet connection. And then, of course, it just makes it tougher for mobile gaming, because obviously if you go to these areas, you're going to be needing data. So internet connection of your home has to be better, like by default, to like bare minimum like 1 gigabit per second is kind of what you'd need to do cloud gaming well. And that's essentially what this would be to some degree. I'm thinking a hybrid cloud gaming type thing. Some stuff on client, some stuff on server. But you still probably need like a gigabit to do things without issue. You probably wouldn't. Like you could probably buffer stuff ahead of time, or you could just have a super long load, not super long, but like a relatively long load time. Like when I teleport in Genshin now on my PS5 when I have SSDs, teleporting takes no time at all. But I do remember I played this on PS4, and load times sucked dick. They were like 20 to 30 seconds for every single teleport, no matter where I was going. Any one of these was like a 20 to 30 second teleport, because it's going onto the hard drive, uncompressing all the assets, loading all the assets into memory, and running it through the graphics card, and then outputting it. Just took time. And it was the disk drive that really was the limiting factor of it. I mean, obviously, PS5 has a faster processor too, so that helps a little bit, but it's really the disk drive that was the big bottleneck. And so, for upcoming cloud gaming, the internet speed will be the bottleneck at that point. So we'll see how. And definitely it's not going to be solved anytime soon. And then that's just purely for PC. Like the problem with, even if you had a great internet connection, even if you have your phone on Wi-Fi, for instance, and you have your Wi-Fi is amazing as well, or the Wi-Fi of wherever you are is amazing, the problem, of course, comes with the fact that, well, this is a game that you can play anywhere. And I guess if you disable Wi-Fi, or if you disable cellular data on your phone, they would just say you can't play it, perhaps, and just leave it at that. But like, if you enable cellular data, if you have to transfer shitloads of data going into instance areas, that could really ramp up. So we kind of really need much, much better internet connection, and then a better cellular service generally. So better data plans, essentially. Once data plans on cell phones get cheaper, and internet speeds across the world get better, obviously, like, focus on the first world countries first. Like, I'm not expecting Africa to have gigabit internet like tomorrow or anything like that. Like, focus on, like, we need fiber in every single American home. We need fiber in all of Europe, mostly. Like, maybe focus more on Western Europe, I guess. But I'm not sure. I'm not really sure how Eastern Europe is. Better fiber there, but we need like fiber everywhere. Like everything should be fiber. Everything should have that speed. Like I know there are some cities in America that have it because it's it's easier to make because they're like smaller. They're smaller cities, so it's easier to rip up the streets and put in the cables and all that shit. or whatever is involved. And I know that's obviously going to be much more difficult for bigger cities. But yeah, once we get the internet connections up, then that'll be interesting to see. But but this seems like a relatively small little area, so I'm hoping that it will stay. I really actually hope they also decorate it too, because like that's pretty basic. Like I hope they put some. I hope like at the end of the event they like make it prettier and then keep it. Like Honkai Star Rail does a good job of keeping their old events live, essentially, where you can play them. But also Honkai Star Rail has a lot lower footprint. Assets take less. Assets are easier. All the assets are just smaller, more contained. So that's why they can do these things, because it's relatively simple. Like they don't do anything super huge on the scale of Genshin, which is why they're able to like do these things. And I do understand why Genshin can't do them. It's sad that they can't. I kind of wish they could. Like replaying old quests and stuff. I kind of get why they do that. It's just because like loading quests is like loading tons of stuff, right? Like it's loading all the assets. For the quest, it's not that bad because like it's not crazy. You can do a check to see if that NPC is used in other quests to stop it. But like for the most part, most of the quests are isolated and don't involve the world, so you wouldn't need to change the world assets. You just need to change NPC behavior. But anyway, it's the kind of thing. It's definitely easier when you plan for it. And I think Genshin didn't plan for it. They weren't expecting it, and they learned while making Genshin that that's what they should do, and they designed Honkai Star Rail to have it, and that's why it does. Combined with the fact that Honkai Star Rail is just easier to implement that same feature. But anyway, I mean, I don't know. I am familiar with programming, so this is my expectation of why they did what they did, and their rationalization for it. Regardless, it could be something that would have been possible, and it is still possible to do in this current iteration. But there's also that's just possible. That's just talking about what is possible, not the actual cost of implementing and maintaining it. And it could just be that. And I'm fine with the content they've been producing. So it's like, yeah, it's the kind of thing where like some people want it, and I get that, but it's just like, well, do you want to make these some people happy at the cost of everybody else? Because like they're only putting so much time and money into doing and developing the next patch. So if you want this feature implemented, they have to take away people and put them into it and do it. And now they're working on that instead of producing content that everyone's enjoying. So there are already people complaining about the lack of content in the game and all that shit. So it's just like, yeah. Like it's a no-win game, because if they cycle, like people are going to be happy no matter what, right? There are people who enjoy the game exactly as it is. If you divert resources from what is currently going on to something, a pet project that a fraction of the community enjoy, then you'll piss off those people, and that's assuming that whatever you do is perfect for the people that you're designing it for, because you never know. You could design it, and you'd be like, okay, cool, we've implemented what you want, and they're like, oh, but that's not exactly the way I wanted it, and you're like, well, fuck. Let's assume that whatever you design is perfect for the people you do. It's like, yeah, it still takes time and money and resources, and they're constantly producing this shit every 6 weeks. And I do understand that Genshin makes fuckloads of money. I do get that. Like, so it's not. So I understand, like, customers, from the customer's perspective, they're like, you make hundreds of millions of dollars a year. Why the fuck can't you just do this? And it's like, yeah, true, but like, where does it end, right? Like, oh, okay, well then just cycle a few million into this, then into this, then into this, then into this, and it's like if they're not making. Essentially, they are still business. So it's like, yeah, sure, they put $10 million into development for this one feature, right? And the development and maintenance of this new feature, right? Are they going to get $10 million? Are they going to get a $10 million increase in the game? Like, are they going to improve the game to the point where they're going to make that money back? And it's hard to gauge that, especially in the beginning. Like, sure, maybe in the end it will. And ideally, that's kind of what you want to do, is you want to always be kind of working towards implementing quality of life features into the game at all times, so that like you're improving the value of the game, you're improving the worth, the fun, the playability of the game, so you can make more money without diverting resources from what's making the game popular as it already is. And so it's a huge back and forth. People don't like to critically think about it. They just want what they want, and if it doesn't have it and the game developers don't do it, then it's their fault. They made a shitty game, developer bad type thing. And it's like, well, no, like there's a lot of factors that go into it. not simply just, because like, and then of course from the layman, things seem so easy. Oh, just add this, add this. It's like, from a programming perspective, it's not that simple. You might think, oh yeah, just add this. It's like, yeah, but like this thing has to run on top of, like, run with and or on top of or underneath a shitload of other processes. And so you could introduce like one thing, you're like, oh, okay, cool, I want to do this. And it's like, yeah, but that could then interfere with something else, right? Like, we don't know the infrastructure of how they're maintaining and loading and all doing all this shit. And while something might seem easy conceptually, um, you know, actually doing it could be annoying. Like, so I had a discussion with someone about artifacts. So in Honkai Star Rail, when you go into now they just added this recently, but when you go into your artifacts and you level them up, or your relics, when you level them up, it'll log with what it rolled into. So if you have, crit rate, crit damage, attack percent, defense percent on your artifacts. I mean, I'll say artifacts. Just keep it simple. So like this, obviously, elemental mastery, crit damage, defense, and attack percent, flat attack, right? I know because I've been playing this game long enough that it rolled once into flat defense, once into crit damage, and like I guess 2 or 3 times into elemental mastery, because I know the ranges of each thing, so I can kind of calculate it on the fly. But in Honkai Star Rail, what they've done is they just flat out done it. So when you level it up, it'll just put a little it'll put a little one next to the defense, or on the left, on the right side column. It'll be like, oh, it'll have a 1 for the defense row and 1 for the crit damage row, and then 3 for the elemental mastery row, to let you know, oh, when you rolled on this, you rolled once into this, 3 times into that type thing, right? Now, Honkai Star Rail did this, so you think, oh, well, Genshin should do this too. It's like, yeah, you think that's easy, but it really isn't, because like they didn't store that data. You might think, oh, well, no, of course they logged it. It's like, no, they don't. I mean, the way I assume they programmed it is when you hit the threshold, it then processes a calculation. It's like, okay, we're going to roll the dice. Which substat are we going to roll into? Rolled into that? Cool. Here's the ranges of it. Okay, now we're going to roll again to see where within this range of a bonus you get, and then it just adds it. So essentially, this artifact object probably just has its main stat. It has a variable for its main stat, what it is, right, and the value for it. So it has energy recharge 51%, and then it has the artifact's level, and then it has the 4 variables that hold each of its substats. So substat 1, 2, 3, 4, and the value for each. And I think when it hits +4, when it hits up a variable multiple of 4, what it does is it just calculates what substat's going to be increased, calculate the value it's going to be increased, and then all it does is change the value, and that's it. So now this current object just has those the subset names and the subset values, and that's it. Whereas Honkai Star Rail, probably what they did is they added another column to this artifact. It'll have the name of the substat, the value of the substat, and the number of times it rolls. So when you get to +4, or I think, yeah, Honkai Star Rail, I think it does every multiple of 3, I believe, actually. But when you hit those multiples, it will then, once it figures out which it's going to roll into, it'll then increment the roll counter, the new column they added, and then it'll change the value. That's what happens. It's probably because they added additional variables to track that, whereas Genshin never had that. So you can't just do it, right? What they would have to do is they have to go through their servers and go through every character's account, every one of their users' accounts, every single one of them, and then go into they have to. First of all, they have to add it, which is not that actually adding that variable is not actually that hard, because you just maybe it would be. Actually, I guess it probably would be, but I mean, you'd probably just have to create a new object class, a new artifact object class, and then just transfer it, copy, create a new object class, create a new transforming class, or create a new transforming function, which essentially is what allows you to copy. But then essentially what they would have to do is go through literally every single character, every single person who's ever made an account, and then go through every single one of their artifacts and create a new artifact that then calculates based on its number, based on its value, how many times it rolled into that. And that's kind of tough. And it could be very, very difficult to tell, because it's possible that like 4 minimum rolls of a stat is equal to, or it could be like 4 minimum rolls is equal to 3 maximum rolls, for instance. Like if it rolls the lowest possible crit rate, 3 times, it's possible that 2 max crit rate rolls will equal the same, increase in a substat, right? Something like that. And in that case, you're fucked. Because all you're doing is just doing a calculation of like, oh, okay, you've rolled into this many times. Like it's this level, therefore you should have this many increases, and then it has to parse the value to try to figure out, okay, what did it like? Because it doesn't know what it started at. It doesn't know what it was at any single step. All it has is the value that it currently is. So we don't know the roll that it had when you first got the artifact. Like this had attack percent, right? Well, when was it? What was the percentage when you first got this at +0, right? We don't know that. So calculating so it's like you just don't know, right? So you know how many, you can use the level to determine how many times it rolled into something, and you can maybe have a vague understanding of, oh, okay, well, this is vaguely the range it could be for 2 rolls, and 3 rolls, 4 rolls, 5 rolls, and then do that. But there's definitely going to be some times where it'll be 3 min rolls that will equal the same value as 2 max rolls of a substat, and now you're just like, fuck, which one is it, right? So I think that's why it might be impossible at this point, because Genshin just didn't plan ahead for that, and trying to convert it at this point would just be too time consuming and just not worth the time or effort or money, because it just to reliably be able to do that. And of course, while you're transferring, I mean, you have to do this like in parallel, essentially, or essentially like you'd have to do this during like one of your maintenance, and being able to do this in like 6 hours would be almost impossible. Now you could essentially do it on the back end, right? You could just make that new column reporting the number of rolls into it non-visible, a secret little column, and just start calculating it on the back end, and then finally at a certain point, and they could be doing that actually. Like you could be like a few patches down the line, they'll do that. They'll show you, look, we finished it. Here you go. Now you have it. So that could be happening, right? For all we know. But yeah, it's things are much more complicated than you might think. And because you're thinking it from a human perspective. Oh, okay, well, you just got to log this. It's like, yeah, but you just got to log. Sure, that's all you need to log. You just need to have logged that. But like, you didn't log it. There's no data that's stored to that. You have nothing to reference. So yeah, you know what you need to do, but you don't know how to retroactively do it, right? But anyway, that is coding 101. Why it's not as easy as some people might think. Why the fuck do I? This is probably for defense scaling. Probably for her, actually. Probably had it for her. Anyway, but yeah. So, all in all, basically what I mean is I hope that they leave that in, and I'm glad with what they've done. I'm happy with what they've done, and I hope they continue to make the game better, bit by bit. Anyway, thank you all for watching. I will see you all next time.